And welcome back to the next episode of Western Mass Turf. We have two gentlemen, Izzy Bees, John, J Bart. They have been actively out in the field, hard at work. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome to Western Mass Turf.
What's up, man? How are you doing?
What's going on?
Great, thanks. Great. Yeah, thanks for being on the show. Appreciate it. So tonight's episode is titled Transition Zone Turf Takeover. Since Western Mass Turf here is still pretty dormant. You guys are already out in the field. How's it going?
Mike, you good? Or you want me to lead off? Or
It don't matter. However you want to go.
man, I'm wide open right now. Soil temperatures are averaging between 48 and 54 degrees. Stuff's popping. Here it is, late January, and I'm getting all my cool season and warm season stuff done. Don't have much warm season stuff, period, but most of my round one apps are out and they're starting to move. Grass is recovering from the bad frost we had, and it's just wide open.
Yeah.
So it's lots of people out, and it's pretty good. B, how are you?
Well, today is January 31st. I have had 11 good days of spraying. I have covered, what did I tell you?
You did 11. You did 11 acres in 5 days. I do know that, or 4 days.
No, I ended up finishing last week with 106 acres total, but what was it, 156 clients?
So
Wow.
Of all nothing but warm season, and I'm still not done yet.
You're just running cleanups and barricade or pro-diming.
I'm running Spectacle and pretty much MSM spiking with either Trimec or Crossbow whenever needed.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What we talked about on the phone that day with the wild onion infestation, I've been having to spike a lot of stuff.
Yeah, well, you want to go over that now a little bit and what we're seeing here, since this is the transition zone takeover in our zones and what we are.
So, yeah, go for it.
So we're in Mike's in, I believe he's in 7B.
I'm 7B, you're 7. I think you're 7A.
I'm 7A and lingering on to 8, or hanging on to 8. Could be I'm 7B lingering on to, I could have those reversed. Either way, we are the epitome of transition zone, where everything grows, nothing grows well, and everything that does grow, you don't want. So this year, because we had for the most part, a super mild winter, I feel like, and I think B would agree with me there.
Minus those 4 days in January, yes.
We had the 4 days in late December.
Starting this entire 2022. January we had that snow, that deep freeze. Then we had that minimalistic freeze. Then we had our rain. We had our nice days. Then we hit drought. Then we hit the super fucking cold this time in December.
So down here, Brent, we have this great temperature fluctuation where it could be 20 degrees at night and 75 degrees in the day.
Wow.
huge temperature shifts, huge temperature swings.
Even in summertime, we can see 40-degree shifts.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's tough to keep in control because ornamentals are definitely, they catch the shrubs and ornamentals catch the hardest, the brunt of it. I feel like, because they're just always getting frosted. The flowering shrubs eat a lot, but
Sure.
grass too. I mean,
Mhm.
just as stuff was starting to kind of roll out, like I could start seeing some of my winter fertilizer applications starting to take off. Then we had a nice frost that stunted it back, a little bit of tip burn, and then, but it's just the name of the game down here. You just have to take it on the chin.
Sure. Yeah.
You gotta do it on the chin.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What I was kind of worried about. What I was kind of worried about this winter up here is usually we have a nice snowpack to insulate anything. So we're actually going to get down to -8 or -9 degrees coming up in a couple days here, and we don't have any snowpack to protect against that big shift. Now we were last couple days we were at 40, 44, 45 degrees, and now we're going to dip down to about -7, -8. So it's gonna, I'm kind of interested to see what's going to happen. So I think the world's changing a little bit. I think you and I are getting closer to similar things.
Busy and I, a while back, we were talking about, when we first started talking, we were talking about some of these measures and aeration seeding time and stuff like that, and how to keep some newly germinated grass from falling off to colder temperatures, stuff like that, which my solution to him was water it. You have 68-degree water coming out of the tap, and if you can water it and not freeze up your irrigation, or your irrigation system hasn't been, which at -8 degrees, I'm sure you wouldn't want to do this, but like for our cold fronts where we're seeing 20 degrees, if I'm trying to keep frost off something, I just run irrigation on it, kind of melt the frost off, and then the customer has a steaming yard compared to everyone else. And then,
well, I mean, December we've seen those temps of, what was it, like 9 to 14 with a negative
14,
like -4, -5, -6.
Which I'm still recovering from frost burn from that.
All my yards are,
because I don't cut grass, so, and I have to convince customers, hey, if you want it to be gone, you have to cut it out. So, and no one wants to cut grass in January. So,
well, also
except for some psychopaths, but
well, we've also had these temperatures dip back down to the like 20s and teens here and there recently, and I'm like, well, I need to go cut this, but I don't know if I should, because what if I do more damage?
How much damage do you think would actually come of that on cool season, Brent? Cutting it and it seeing a frost immediately after? Because I haven't experienced enough of it to really have a good study for someone. And around here, people just cut the grass and don't.
So for us, if we were to do that, there would be some pretty significant damage. Even just walking on the lawn right now, you're going to just leave trails. You're going to see all your footprints. It's going to look like you walked through a puddle of Roundup. So it's not. I've seen people go out there too early after a frost, and they their progress pretty significantly. So I've seen it. I've been doing this a long time. I've seen some weird shit, and it's one of them I've experienced. Isn't fun. People going out there mowing too early. It's not pretty.
No.
Brent,
especially up there.
Can you see the YouTube chat?
Huh? No, I can't see the YouTube chat.
Why not?
I can't see it. So
I'm actually.
Well, my mom just posted in there.
Did he?
Yes.
You guys keep talking. I'm gonna try to see if I can bring up the chat, but
Well, I can see it on here.
oh, can you? Good. I can't see
Yeah.
shit. I'm gonna work on it.
I can see the chat.
I can't see it.
No, I'm gonna work on it. You guys keep talking. I'll be right back.
But so what? I don't know what to talk about, my man. I feel like I talk to you all the time.
I
So,
mean, well, we do, but
you know everything that I'm dealing with. So,
of course. I'm amazed your wife gave you this spectacle hour to get away.
Hey man, she's given it to me twice this week. So tonight and on Thursday. So
did she hear my name and be like, "Hey, he does his own thing"?
Oh no! When she says who's that, and I say it's busy, she first of all she instantly knows it's going to be a couple hours if I tell her an hour, and then she knows most of the time I'll be stumbling back into the house and not just walking through the door like any normal person would. But
well, tell her I love her.
No, I'll make sure she knows.
I got to bring her a gift when we come up.
Yeah, for sure. I forget what we were talking about. Oh, we were talking about Frostburn. What are you seeing down your way as far as people cutting right now? Because I'm seeing mowers loaded up all over the place.
Well, I'm seeing mowers loaded up, and I'm like, why are y'all fucking cutting unless y'all doing like leaf cleanups? Like,
I mean,
you're new to business, you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
I mean, I can kind of see it, dude, because I have a couple cool season yards. Like a lot of my especially yards are sitting right now at 6 inches.
Well, see, here's my problem. I got ones that I need to cut, but I'm still seeing that frost tip damage. But with us expecting another freeze this week, I'm skeptical to go out and actually cut back.
Yeah.
And you and me talk about this all the time, like your grass cutters versus me and the way we go about our processes.
Right. My grass cutters are.
That's all.
My grass cutters are not good.
That's all.
They're not good.
They're grass cutters.
Yeah, they are grass cutters, and they are barely that. They got fired. I'll say this much. So.
They're like what Ray likes to call a Filipino.
Yeah, man, they're just. Brent, you probably dealt with this in corporate. Maybe Busy gives it. Mike gives it to me all the time. Really hard all the time. He's like, you just tell them to insert random cuss words and and obscene finger movements. But so
sure.
We're past that 3-minute mark. We can say that.
Okay. So I deal in high-end lawn care, and that's kind of my market. And one of the hardest things I've ever come across in this business is getting contractors to be on the same page as the guy who's doing his best to make everything right. So if I go out and and this guy, my customer is paying me an obscene amount of money to make his grass grow good, and then I'm contracting for someone else, for another yard management company, and he hires grass cutters, and the grass cutters come in and they're cutting my Carolina cool season down to 2 1/4 inch in August, just to get another cut in.
Well, I mean that makes sense if you're going to do that. If you're going to do an overseed, but depending on your height of cut to begin with,
right,
you drop somewhere between 1/4 to 1/2 of what you normally do.
Most people say take off the top third, yes, but these guys, they just cut to cut too because that's their business. And when your business is cutting grass and appearing and cutting grass, that's a billable service for them to do. So they're going to go and put machines on that turf, and they're going to make it way more difficult on me.
Sure.
And
I didn't know. I like working for myself.
And Brent, you only do fertilization weed control as well. I understand.
Right. Yes.
But
Yep.
so is that something that you deal with a lot? Do you take control over their grass cutters? Like I have like written plans like that are left in my truck that like if
Yeah.
I see them on my job sites, I'm like, take this, you cut this property this way.
Yeah, I've surrounded myself with a pretty good crew, but I've definitely had some heads in the past. Have done exactly what you said there. The 2.5 inch mow down on an unirrigated turf with the heat of the day and on July 15th. Yeah, that's a lot of fun to explain to the customer that
And
this
it's
is
and it's
this is
always it's always the applicator's fault. It's what I've
It's
right.
always the
Yeah.
applicator's fault when there's fucking track
yeah,
marks of the
yeah.
fucking mower.
It's and that's been the hardest thing is like for me to be like it, it's not me,
Yeah.
man. I'm not here all the time. Like I
Mhm.
I'm kind of like you see the difference night and day of what it's looked like, but
Sure. Yeah.
there's another variable here that we picked up in the last 8 months that is making this year substantially harder than what it was
Yes.
years previously. So
Sure.
let's
Yeah.
find let's find this variable out. Oh, you
Yeah.
hired some new people to cut your grass because oh they're $30 cheaper a month. Well, your
Yeah.
$30 a month just costs you another $185 a year.
And
You
that's when
got
I
what you
tell
paid.
them, well, you just fucked up, AA Ron.
Yeah, it's
I'm over the years. I've actually have not. I'm not shy anymore. I'll say, okay, well, this is what it is. Mind if I have that phone number for these guys? And usually that they scribble it on a piece of paper, and there's a phone call walking down the driveway back to my truck.
uh, yeah, that's one of the things that I've really implemented hard this year for this season is I need to know who's on this turf. You know,
Right.
if you're bringing in a guy to do your structural guy, your structural pest control guy to come in and do his termite applications, whatever,
Mhm.
I need his number.
Mhm.
I need the grass cutter's number. Your pool guy, I want his number because when he's backwashing the saltwater pool into my yard that I'm managing after I just did an application, now me and this pool guy, we got some problems.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so it's essentially just I started customer profiling this year. So each customer
Mhm.
it has their contacts, not all because I can't get them all from them, and nor do I want all of their. But I definitely want to know who their grass cutters are or who's cutting the grass.
Sure.
I want to touch
Mhm.
base with them. I want to say, hey, I
Mhm.
did this application. When are you cutting grass? Because I want to make sure my applications match your schedule. I don't want to come out here while you're cutting grass and do an
Mhm.
application.
Right.
All right,
Um,
Yep.
so to not to intrude, but to intrude, Dustin Waterman just asked a question for those of you who do mow a bunch of lawns. Are you washing, cleaning mowers in between mows? Just curious. Um, honestly, here is my answer to that. No, I don't do that. I clean my deck every time I have to sharpen my blades after about every 8 to 10 hours. I also maintain all my treatments. So therefore cross contamination will not be an issue. If you got guys that are sitting here saying cross contamination because their deck buildup is a thing and then it drops out, that's not true.
I think the deck buildup is I think it's sterilized
It is very
to a
sterilized
point
there
to
to a
like
point.
most turf grass seeds are sterile anyways. So I think like just stuff dropping out now. I think there's like if someone goes in and like for example, I have a customer with Bermuda right next door is fescue. I
Mhm.
treat both of them. They have the same grass cutters. Well,
Mhm.
if dude comes in and ruts up a spot in fescue's yard,
That
chances of
Bermuda's gonna
Bermuda,
go.
chances of the Bermuda getting in there are higher. But
Yeah, because
I used to
stolons and rhizons.
Dustin, I used to cut all these accounts as well, and I stopped cutting just because the market's way too cutthroat in that industry, I feel like. But Dustin, honestly, what I did is I cleaned my deck after each day. That's what I did. And I also set up my days if you're running I'm in the transition zone. So I had warm season grasses done on this day and cool season grasses done on this day. And I just spread out my deck. It's not a hard thing. It's way easier to clean out grass when it's fresh in your deck versus 2 months later. Now, with Busy, for example, where he has full control of everything going on.
I have multiple mowers for multiple grass types.
That's different. He's able to, if
I control
it. If he has full control, but honestly, best practice is to, if nothing else, blow your shit off in between yards. You know what I mean? And then try to keep all your grass types lumped in your routes. And keep in mind, route density is key too. So we also don't want you going here to there. For example, if I had on this route, on route A, if I had all these cool season and then one Bermuda yard and then all my warm season were all the way up here, well, I'm not going to come all the way back down to do it. So I would just put that warm season on the end of my route, because chances of cool season infesting warm season are slimmer than and easier to control than warm season infesting cool season. That's what I all agree.
Yeah,
I agree 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But route
Ray says contamination by other grasses is a big issue for him, but if this is who I'm thinking of, well, yes, of course. You have Zoysia, you have Bermuda, you have.
What was the question?
Dustin Waterman said, for those of you who do mow a bunch of lawns, are you washing cleaning mowers in between mows? Just curious.
Right. We answered that.
Yeah. Ray answered, I do. Contamination by other grasses is a big issue for me. But he's also dealing with Bermuda. He's dealing with Zoysia. He's dealing with Seashore Paspalum. He's dealing with Bahia.
Ray Ito?
Yeah.
What's up, Ray?
He's dealing with a lot of more warm season that you'll ever deal with.
And he's doing it with he's doing it with a real mower.
Yes, exactly.
Like I don't think Dustin's cutting.
I don't think he's on that level.
Only some people are as large of psychopaths as Ray Ito is to cut all these yards with a real mower. And it's a beautiful thing what Ray does, but I don't think Dustin's one of those. No offense to you, Dustin. Some offense to you, Ray.
LW50 all invasive type grasses too. Yes, there is that. There's also, Goose, there is Dallas, there is, hell, for that matter, right now, like what we're dealing with transition turf. POA.
God, yeah. You want to talk about it? Let's talk about it.
Fuck that shit.
Yeah, get into that. Talk about POA.
It's a beautiful grass that absolutely sucks. It is the bane of my existence, and Busy can kind of get by with it because he deals in a lot of warm season. I mean, I think you're like 90% warm season, right?
About 85.
85. I'm all but 4 accounts cool season. And POA in cool season is so awful to deal with. Like you're doing applications in November, December, January.
All the way till March.
All the way till March, and then it still takes over, 1,000 square foot of the property
till
you're still,
June where it actually like it hits those fucking
yeah,
90s and like
yeah.
100s, and you're like, oh,
If
it finally died.
it finally dies itself, and then but you realize that it's just like so. POA sucks, but there's stuff for POA. You know what I mean?
Like what you found on the side of the road.
Yeah. Like
Tell that story.
like going down the road, trying to be a good Samaritan, see a white jug in the middle of the road. I don't know what it is, but cars like swerving it. So I stop, pull over. I'm just gonna pick up the jug, the trash out of the road.
Sure.
It is a full unopened jug.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Yes. This is a real story.
A POA constrictor.
Oh, wow. Oh, it's
yes.
Still has the seal on it. Jesus. God's little huh?
The gods were looking out for me that day. Yeah. So keep in mind, guys, try to keep the roadways clean and stop and pick up trash. But so there's chemicals for that. There's chemicals to get rid of stuff like POA annua and some of these other invasive speedwell and stuff like that. You know, some of these winter. But
I think
you start talking Dallas grass and stuff like that. Now we're into cocktails that are.
You call me about daily.
Yeah, I'm like, oh man, how is this going to be? You end up on your record sheet for the EPA, 9 chemicals. And you're sitting here and you're like, gosh, thank God they're all grouped differently.
Yeah, it's true.
I think now's a great time to introduce your fucking slogan. If you're not running quinclorac, if you're not running quinclorac in Carolina season, needs to be in every application. That's what you run. Quinclorac, hands down. That's the chemical.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, I like it. I like it.
Yeah. I told B that one night when I was completely torn up. I said, man, if you're not running quinclorac in all your applications in Carolina cool season, fuck you. Like, I don't know what you're doing in this place. It's about the only thing you can get by. Between that and sulfentrazone.
Yeah.
Some halo sulfur.
I get it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, there's always
cool season turf down there. I mean, other than you get the blazing hot heat and stuff. What other products can you get away with without just going scorched earth in the summertime doing an application?
Well, can we break down that? Like products, like what are you talking about? Fertilizer?
Let's just say like a weed control. Let's say you're
just weed control.
Weed control application. So let's look facing some kind of some annual that's really taken over. Maybe let's say it's a new property or something. You're gonna go full scorched earth on it, or can you back off with a little gentler product if there is such a thing?
I try to run more groups at lower rates.
Mm-hmm.
And just to keep resistance down. But there's times where you have to mix straight triclopyr and straight fusilade at max rate per acre, you know, to knock that Dallas grass out, or to
build your own 3-ways.
Or yeah, honestly, I roll my own, so just building 3-ways is kind of it, and then of course like throwing quinclorac in just about everything.
Well, a safe bet that I found is Trimex 99 or Trimex Southern with quinclorac with 1 ounce per acre sulfentrazone.
Trimex Southern is pretty good stuff. And then
in a pinch, Trimex Southern, Quinclorac, and 1 ounce per acre sulfentrazone.
And then
ran stacked with the AMS.
Yes, and you can, yes and no with the AMS depending on the time of year. But like Brent was saying, with cool season, like I'm not going to go run AMS in June, July.
Or like what you and me talk about, the that custom 6-11 blend that I have.
Yes.
With that 3% iron.
Yes, that's a good green up blend for sure. Has a lot of potassium though. So do customers here need that much potassium?
Well, with you and me, that's kind of debatable, but that's also one of my custom blends that I have here because I know my area better than I know yours.
Right, my area.
And sadly, we're an hour apart, and it's so
different. It's a strange
last week,
area.
soil test.
Yeah.
Yeah, like. Yeah. Oh yeah. Like my soil tests look completely different than yours. And
I use Clemson as a baseline for you.
And I'm going to when I do go on the Thirsty Thursday, I am going to submit some of my good and bad soil tests that they can populate. I'm sorry, this is a little bit short notice, and I couldn't get it over to you, but
well, you
I
can
have.
Text me later.
Yeah, I mean they're not like crazy or anything. It's our biggest thing here seems to be cationic exchange capacity, and how do you increase cationic exchange capacity that's exceptionally low when you have nearly perfect pH soil and you don't want to add any calcium, and you don't want to add any other things. So what do I have to do? Do I go install sand?
Well, then there again,
do I make it more permeable? Like what do you do? So
well, that also depends on your grass cutter. Is he bagging? Is he like deriving your soil of nutrients?
Because, no. These grass cutters do not bag.
Hear me out. If they did, could you get away with it? If they ran a Walker, a Direct Leg, X-Mark Navigator, anything like that, where you could bag, take the clippings off, make it actually look nice, cut, clean, striped up, perfect.
Yes, but then bagging isn't going to increase the cationic exchange capacity. That's going to lower the cationic exchange capacity because they're pulling out inert matter.
Ray says, "Do not bother with CEC."
What kind of?
I trust Ray Ito. I trust him.
There you go. There's your answer.
The resident expert in the chat tonight, Ray Ito.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining.
Gosh, if he says, I believe it. Like hands down. I have a picture saved on my phone of him and Busy diagnosing my front yard.
Oh yeah.
at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah.
It was almost 4 a.m.
It
was almost 4 a.m. our time.
And they're both staring, trying to find a problem in my front yard.
And we picked them out.
Wasn't many though.
No, but it took us 25 to 45 seconds, and we're both going, "Hey, you got this, and this."
It was just one thing, and it was a cut pattern problem that I was having. Was a problem.
But it made it look like multiple.
It made it look like I had POA annual, but it was because I cross cut and it was super light in those areas.
Well,
because I went stomping through my front yard the next day trying to find it, and I was like, so
I had a number of years ago. I had my entire technical staff over for dinner, a pizza party stuff, and they were at my house, and all of them immediately, because I was known for diagnosing and all that stuff. I was the guy that trained them all. They picked through my lawn like with a fine tooth comb. Like they're doing like soap tests. they're like they have coffee cans all over your yard and all these jugs of Dawn dish soap and water's going all over you.
You're just like,
It
guys,
was
I just wanted your
it was like it was out of a crime scene investigation. It was just a bunch of guys holding beer, crawling around in the lawn, just trying to find anything and anything possible to point out to me that I have wrong on the lawn. So, J Bar, I relate. It's a terrible
there's
feeling. You go out the next day,
I
and you're like, what?
I accept it from men in the industry who I know what they're doing is valid.
Sure. Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
like if some neighbor comes up and asks me about like the single clump of crabgrass that popped up in my front yard because he discharges all of his crap onto my yard,
Sure. Yeah.
or like just like didn't get hit with any prodiamine or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care,
Right.
because it's gonna die. Now, if someone says, "Hey, dude, think you have a little bit of Poe in your front," I'm like, and it's like busy and ready to go, I'm like,
Sure.
might need to get that handled because they're
Yeah.
because
Hey, I got one for you. LW James in Discord said, "What about DG and tall type turf fescue? Question mark. Fuselade plus triclopyr."
I can't. You know,
what was that, Brent?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, guys. I apologize.
Fuselade triclopyr at probably 3/4 rate each.
I'm not thinking that for Dallas grass.
I'll tell you what I'm throwing and what's working. But it's not just that. You need to throw some. A little bit of sulfentrazone in with it, and I believe I threw Pylex on it, and that's what actually bleached it out and got it gone.
I mean, you could go Sure Power,
and that's an expensive application just with those chemicals. You know, you're talking like your cost per 1,000 is like $8 probably per 1,000.
I like Ray's comment. Pylex and sulfentrazone
would definitely do it.
Now, are we talking about Dallas grass?
Yeah.
But customers also like to see the burn and not the bleach. So, and Fuselade triclopyr do it, and it stunts it out pretty good, and then top it off with some sulfentrazone and Pylex, and.
I mean, there again, also.
But I'm running this in tank mix too, so it's
something like that right there. I could take my 7-gallon Augustine, and I could run Tenacity or Mesotrione with sulfentrazone and some other kicker.
Well, yeah, because Tenacity
and then I could get
Tenacity doesn't work.
Burn.
I don't think Tenacity works by itself.
No, you don't. It is added as a kicker.
Yeah.
Just like the dreaded fucking 4-letter word MSMA. It don't work by itself. It is a fucking added kicker.
The brandy smooths out, by the way, y'all. It's
good.
with the cutter.
So with the cutter, it's got we got this thing down to like a 90 proof.
What was the cutter?
The cutter was Sprite.
There you go.
I'm out of that.
Yeah, dude, I had to. Dude, I was drinking gasoline.
I was drinking Louisville gasoline.
That came from the mountains of North Carolina. That brandy, dude. That was some stout stuff, dude. I got another 2 quarts of it. I'm not gonna be able to get that shit done.
Well,
I got you. I'll save you some.
Save me some when I come up.
I'll save you some.
That explains the hair on you.
Believe me, it's not going anywhere fast. I promise you that. I don't think they're making that spread. But yeah, Dallas grass sucks too, but Dallas grass is one of those things. If you get on it right there in the beginning, you can manage it well. If you let that Dallas grass go,
it's about like goose.
Yeah, if you don't get it under control by mid-June,
Mhm.
the rest of your summer is Dallas grass, and it's just an absolute bitch.
And then also there again, with you cutting at, well, your grass cutters cutting at your 3.5 plus to 4 or 5 inches.
Mhm.
And it's gonna stimulate, it's gonna grow, it's gonna spread because it's gonna pop seed heads, and then they're gonna transfer that.
It's catching seed heads.
Yeah.
Plant growth regulator helps too. But then again, you have to say, okay, am I going to do a target application of plant growth regulator, or am I going to try to regulate the entire yard? What rate am I going to run this plant growth regulator here versus the rest of the yard? If I am going to do that, because I contract for a bunch of landscaping companies, and they pay me extra for plant growth regulator to make it easier on their grass cutters.
Sure.
And I don't mind doing that. But if I'm running, quarter rate of a new across 10,000 square foot, and they have a little bit of Dallas grass here,
right.
How much more am I going to add to this to actually manage control of that? Right. And then, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, there is a time in my life where diesel fuel seemed like the most reasonable way to kill Dallas grass. Dallas grass can be. Last summer, I had one property that I was cutting grass last year, or a lot more grass, and this one customer, he was like on the lowest package, and I told myself, getting into this industry, I can't give away chemicals. I can't give away freebies to people, because you give it to one, you give it to all of them. So sure. I can't just go out and treat this guy's Dallas grass. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm the one managing the Dallas grass and cutting it. And it's a bitch to cut. It's a bitch to clean up. So do I treat this Dallas grass for my benefit, or do I just let it go? And more or less, you say it's just going to have to go. And hey, buddy, if you want me next year, it's going to have to be one or the other. Like either I'm not going to cut your grass, which I'm not, or I will cut your grass, and you need to get on this package tier that's going to handle this.
Sure.
So
and I think that conversation with the customer isn't totally unreasonable, right? I mean, I think a lot of the times they're hiring you for your professional advice and expertise, and you just at that point have given that exact example of this is the situation, this is the best way of moving forward. Are you in, are you out? And I would say 9 out of 10 times they're going to say, I'm in, let's do it.
Well, I agree 100%, but then you also have that one sticker. That one cheapskate piece of shit that
there's always exceptions to the rules. You know what I mean? There's always going to be people. There's always going to be that
pain in the ass.
That quinclorac resistant clover. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like, there's always going to be some exception to what we do, and we get paid. And to get the best quality of care with the best service, be stewards of the environment, and inform people best practice. So
Ray just made a comment about 3 minutes ago. He said Cutlass shuts down Dallas grass. I have seen that firsthand in warm season. I have not been able to see that in cool season so far, because I don't really see it in my cool season.
Pellet Constrictor does?
No, Cutlass. And Cutlass I do run in my cool season as my PGRs.
I can't say anything. We deal with past
I
Palin.
can't
So
say anything. I can't say anything. I 100%, but then we get into adding more chemicals into an already large.
No, Cutlass is one of your PGRs.
This is a PGR, but
yeah,
when
you
my main
right
when the PGR that I'm running is a new, because I like time, but it falls out.
Haven't I told you about Cutlass?
We've talked about Cutlass, yes, but tell others.
Well, I mean, I'm telling you right now for like cool season, Cutlass is a good one. So is Pack.
Cutlass is great, but it's another thing to source.
Ray gave me one of a Cutlass backload combination that I do not have in front of me, and when I do find it, I will fucking text you the information. I will actually send you the I don't know if it was fridge nose or if it was what was it, like a case of fucking beer that I've ripped open and started taking notes when me and Ray were talking one day. He has given me so many freaking combinations. It's not even funny.
If you knew how many cocktails I have pinned up to my wall right now, I'm just like stupid cocktails. Like I applied her and I was like, works, and then like does not work. Just reference, just like don't.
Let me go dig back through the ring files. When I come up, I will have
killed everything. Like everything. Like no longer selective herbicides.
Hey, here you go, Jay Bart. A new plus Cutlass, best of both worlds.
That is probably the best of both worlds.
I would agree.
But at what rates are we talking as well, and what are we trying to do with the PGRs? That's a big thing that lots of people miss in talking about PGRs. Yes, we're regulating plant growth. Lushy even told me that 2,4-D is more or less a growth regulator.
Well, in that case, MCCP, MCCP 2,4-D, dicamba, methylfuran methyl, you can run that fucking combination over and over and over and over again, and you can run that as an actual PGR. Then you can actually run anywhere from a quarter ounce to a half ounce of Roundup, straight glyphosate.
Yes, Roundup is a PGR. I mean,
and you can mix all of that and run that as a PGR as well.
There's plenty of PGRs out there, but what are we trying to do with the PGR?
Right.
Is a big question that I think lots of people miss. So are we going on vacation, and are we trying to, well, let me finish for a moment. Are we trying to stop plant growth completely on a allotted amount of time? Are we going on a 2-week-long cruise, and we don't want Joe Schmoes out there cutting our grass or stomping all over it, so we're going to put down a PGR to really slow down? Or are we using PGRs like what I use in my program to slightly slow down plant growth to where grass cutters still have to cut once a week, but not twice a week, and we're able to store carbohydrates for summer growth? That way I don't have to put down any fertilizers in the summer and risk burning. And I think that's where the PGRs, they all work, and they all do phenomenal at what they're doing. It's just what's the application that we're trying to use them.
Ray's response was,
I get what
reduce mowing, reduce weed growth. Cutlass regulates weed growth better than a new Ortinex. And I'm reading straight off the YouTube live chat, right? And this is straight
sure of it. But
the only
running Renew in my program.
The only time that I actually use some growth regulators are exactly what you were talking about earlier, Jay Bart, is extended April vacation. In April around here, grass is growing like hell, right? So the customer wants to mow their own lawn. They're not going to hire somebody. They're not going to hire a teenage kid, or they're not going to hire a company. They want to do it themselves. So they'll put a mow in before they leave, and they want to be able to not come home to a jungle. So that's the only real reason that I actually use plant growth regulators.
And
Hey, so
and
J-Bar, I
and
got a question for you after this.
and noted. And the way I'm using plant growth regulators is at like an eighth of a rate, just to slow down mowing.
Hey,
For
give me a minute. Let me go grab a beer.
Barbara,
Sure.
just to slow down mowing for the grass cutters is essentially it, because it's going to get cut every week, because regardless, I'm not
Right.
cutting the grass, so I don't care.
Right.
But
Yeah.
if it's in someone's
Right.
contract, hey, I need it to where my guys aren't baling hay every time they come out because they're spending an hour cleaning up, versus I could pay you an additional $15, to
Right.
make this application across, for
Mhm.
each of these properties or whatever, or include
Sure.
this into the plan,
Mhm.
or I can have my guys rake up hay for an hour.
Mhm. Right.
They're typically
I
going
know.
to go with that. And
Sure.
and but I don't want to stop plant growth completely.
Mhm.
That's why I'm running really mild rates. It's the way I see it and the way I understand it and my reading on it is that it's a regulator. So just like a flow regulator or a pressure regulator, let's use it at
Mhm.
rates to regulate what we want.
Sure. Mhm.
If I'm trying to slow down grass growth, but I want it to keep growing,
Mhm.
that's how I'm gonna use it. And that's why I think, me personally, I don't need every PGR out there. I need
Mhm.
a bottle that I use and I trust, and then I need that backup bottle that's a little bit hotter, that for those
Sure.
one-off events
Yeah.
where guys going out of town for 2 weeks. And that's just how I
Mhm.
see it. But everyone has different things, and I could be
Oh,
completely wrong. I'm relatively new at this game, so I haven't been around as long as you, Brent, and I haven't been around as long as Busy and or Ray or a lot of these other guys. It's a lot of SAFO. Maybe I should be running multiple plant growth regulators, but
Well, not
right
only
now
running
what's working for
them,
me is that.
well, not only running them, but
yeah.
experimenting, figuring out which one works best, and then what combination works best.
Well, yeah.
And then also what mix rate, what per ounce per acre, or what
Oh,
combination.
you learn that real quick with plant growth regulators. I feel like
Um,
you learn real quick what max rate of
Oh yeah.
I can
Primo
give you
Max does to
one
someone's
right
yard.
now. No, I can give you one right now. Prime example. I don't know if he's here live or anything, but 813 King in the Discord. That crazy ass some bitch. That is real Mo and St. Augustine at what is it? 0.199.
Good for him, man.
Yeah, he calls me
Good for
all the time
him, man.
asking all this.
You
He
said St.
kept his,
Augustine?
yes.
Wow.
He is running St. Augustine real Mo. He's also got Bermuda at what is it, 0.12?
It's awesome.
Yeah. So he calls me all the time just like you do.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, no matter what I do, no matter if I don't do PGR, no matter how much fertilizer I send, no matter how much DEF, EMS, no matter what I do, it's stunted right now. Like, what the fuck do I do? And I was like, I need you to mail me soil samples. I need to dissect this for a minute. I need to figure out what the fuck's going on. I need you to send soil samples. I need to send off soil samples.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, you can PGRs can be your best friend, or they could be an absolute nightmare if they're used at the wrong time. Gosh,
well,
dude,
well,
I couldn't imagine using PGRs right now.
Well, he's in Florida, so it grows year round.
Okay.
He's pretty much, let's just go, for lack of better terms, Miami, Florida. Full grown everything. Ray, that was what my first thought was the nematodes, but depending on what he's seeing, I'm not seeing bear spots, I'm not seeing this, I'm not seeing that. Maybe we get him on the show one day and we talk.
Sure.
Good name.
But going back to all of that, the question I had to ask you, Jay Parker.
Yo.
Remember that day you randomly called me and asked me about what was it, the potassium or the phosphorus uptake or something? Some new guy was questioning, and you and me like debunked that in like 2.2 seconds.
Yeah.
And we were both already drunk as shit because it was like 12 o'clock at night. Or something.
I remember it being like 12 o'clock in the day.
Whatever it was raining and we'd already started drinking.
We were day drinking. We were day drinking.
Who was that guy? What was he asking again? Because I think Brent needs to be informed on this one.
Okay.
And I want Brent's intake on this as well.
So talking about, and it's tough. It's tough without soil samples for this area, or his soil samples. But like me and a guy were talking about. He's another pro applicator, and he was talking about how he's running SOP in his program and putting it out, this time of year. So versus, and he was talking about how he's seeing great green up running SOP in this program. And I'm like, well, why don't you just do that with MOP? Because potassium isn't one of those things that you're like, you chase after it, but like you don't chase after it hard. You know what I mean? It's not like it's like I feel like you get more green up out of stuff just with adding a little bit and spoon feeding a little bit of nitrogen. You'll get great green up, great results. And he's doing like full applications, and then we got talking about me and Beaver sitting here discuss drunk, regrettably, discussing about the amount of salt he's probably putting into the amount of salt he's probably putting down when he's doing this application, and is it actually beneficial for him to do this specific application of SOP instead of running MOP, running like, a 10-10-10 or something like that, something that he's going to get more nutrients out of and less applications, and less salt content in that. But granted, there's still salt in MOP. It's just which one is more practical to do. And B and I pretty much, went down so many different rabbit holes with it, but it pretty much came down to is there's no reason to run a straight potassium unless you actually see a soil sample that says you are completely depleted of potassium and you need to run an SOP. And the amount of salt that you're about to introduce into the soil doesn't like shit so fucked already that the amount of salt you're about to introduce into the soil, you're going to get more gains out of the potassium versus the salt that you're introducing in. And
it was like the soil test that I sent you.
So
you remember that one?
Anytime I'm doing anything like that, it's in the springtime and it's not during the heat with rain on the way. I don't backload on potassium in my fall applications because my lawns are prone to snow mold. So loading up with potassium in the fall is not a good idea. So anytime I have to really hammer it pretty hard, it's going to be springtime with that for me.
But you do run liquid potassium in that form, and
I've done it here and there, but for the most part, I'll increase my potassium. I forget. I'm almost looking at the soil test on my desk here. I don't think it's the one. I'd love to show it, but this particular one had potassium levels. I want to say super low. It wasn't even on. It wasn't even on the one that I showed on the grass factor. I think,
I'm looking at your soil sample now, B.
Do I?
I'm looking at that soil sample you sent me now. And his potassium's not bad at all. It's like
No, the potassium's not bad. It's the phosphorus.
the phosphorus is awful.
Yeah.
okay, so yeah, this is it. It's the potassium levels on this one were 42.
I thought it was zinc.
Do
It was what? Brent?
That's low.
We didn't hear you. Say it again.
Oh, so it's 42 parts per million. So
what?
the normal range, I believe, is 100, 150 to 240 is a norm. This was at 42.
115 is fucking minimalistic.
Yeah, I think 150 is like perfect range or something like that.
Yeah. 115 is minimalistic, and you said it was what, 60 something?
No, it's 42. That's the actual reading.
40.
That would be a time where I would run SOP.
Yeah.
That would be a time. But
that's the
but we're talking about making tank mixes here. You know what I mean? So how are you running that? Like you're having to make a site specific application for that potassium in that one case, and
this guy only runs tank mix.
Yes, he's
got it.
Yeah,
he don't know what granular is. He apparently can't spread granular.
No, he knows what granular is and he knows how to spread it. I'm not saying that about. He's a smart guy. Like he was asking me about SOP versus MOP. Like that's a guy who's above the majority of pro applicators out there.
This is
and we have to understand that is that there's different tiers and levels. There's guys that run straight 10 10 10 every application.
Mm-hmm.
And they're billing people, you know, $100 for 10,000 square foot to pick up a bag of 10 10 10 from Lowe's and put it out in the yard. So the fact that this guy has dived in that deep shows that he's not a chuckle fucking truck.
Right.
He's a very smart guy. Is that the best route for?
He is upgraded to a chuck in a truck, but it still is not scientifically there.
No, I think he's scientifically there. I just think think that he missed some of the reasoning on it. I think he might.
What we talked about that night or the day or whatever, like he's overthinking this to the super extent.
I believe so, which is fine.
Everything.
Well, I would rather a pro applicator overthink something than go out and just toss it out, you know.
And then he calls you and me have what 30-minute fucking shotgun session of beers and be like, hey, well, we dissected this. This is what he needs to do.
It was on that. Yeah, it was pretty much. I just don't see the need for you to.
I don't think
he
needs to go there.
Potassium. Yeah, not here, at least. In most cases, and like I said, and that's the issue is if he's running a site specific application on his 10,000 square foot with a backpack sprayer or something like that, and trying to push that potassium level higher, that's fine. But to run across all properties, I just because you see better green up, that would be like me putting out humic acid on my yard and me seeing benefits from it. So I say I got to put humic acid out on everyone's yard. You know what I mean? My yard's in good condition to where I can see results from something like humic acid or kelp. Some other people's yards, who I do, they would see nothing from it, and I'm just putting out brown water. So yeah, it's the fact I and myself as well, I do this all the time, is I dive way too deep into shit. You know what I mean? I've had Ray tell me before, man, just slow your roll, you're overthinking it. He just told me today, don't worry about cationic exchange capacity. You know, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Like, and Busy Bee and I have talked a whole lot about atoms on the phone, and
We have.
and moving electrons on the phone, and
Yeah.
and it's you know, I dive into stuff deeper too. Now, does that make
Sure.
me a chocolate truck? Maybe, but
The fact that you care puts you head and shoulders above a lot of people, right? So if you're concerned about that, you can be that guy and say, well, the plant's going to do what it's going to do. It knows what it's going to do. I feed it, and the plant's going to grow, right? But you can also take it to that next level and say, well, if I do it this way, and I do it, environmentally sound and steward of the environment, then I'm far above that guy, right? My timing's great, my product selection's great. I'm making it affordable for the customer, and I'm making a profit off of it. That's really what separates the men from the boys in that category.
that's really what it is. And some of the guys who I mentor, they catch a couple of those notes that you just made, Brent, but they're missing some other ones. You know, like I can tell you. First of all, I tell people who are in the industry for a while, we can break down and talk my month-to-month plan all day, what I'm doing every single month. And I can tell you what I'm doing across the majority of my accounts every single month. We can break that down. I can bust out the calendars.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't want to show someone new in the industry that. I want someone new in the industry, I'll give them guidance, say, hey, you might want to start thinking about pre-emergence.
Right. Yeah.
And it's completely up to them whether or not are they going to do the research? Are they going to say, hey, I should run a split rhodoprodimene, and then do a third pre-emergent application to have dithiopyr in it.
Mm-hmm.
I run three pre-emergent for 3 rounds.
Sure.
And it's highly successful for my customers and keeps me from having to make a lot of unnecessary applications.
Mm-hmm.
Or John, it's like me. I run that spectacle, and then I have that custom 1648 blend of predominant.
Yeah, dude, yeah. Let me go to my tanker truck of spectacle that you got parked in the backyard, and go rip off another 5 gallons of it and just toss in my tank like it's nothing. Yeah, let me go spend my $3,000 on a bottle like it ain't nothing.
It ain't shit.
Spectacle. Like, there's so many other things you could be using this cheaper. There's so many others. But damn, spectacle works.
There again, I'm not running spectacle, but I'm running 19.1 and Dazaplam.
Okay. Oh, spectacle. Okay.
Spectacle spicy.
Yeah. So but yeah, like, if anyone who dives in deep like that, like, it doesn't make you. I think it makes you smarter than most in this industry, and that's what we're going for. The fact that me and him could have that conversation, and that me and you could have that conversation, like, I could call you being like, hey, dude, what do you think about this? Is this something that I'm missing? And then get reassurance from you, like, nah, dude, like, that makes no sense. And I'm like, okay. Like, I thought so. Do you think so?
There again, on that one, that specific example that I brought up of that guy that contacted you, I'm thinking he's going too deep too soon before he realizes what he's doing. Because, I mean, you and me broke down the salt content, we broke down the calcium content, we broke down the magnesium content. Like, we challenged everything immediately within what? Half a beer?
It was not half a beer.
It was half a beer. Once I got the full story, it was a half a beer. Like,
it was like half a 6-pack. Once we had the numbers right.
Well, once we got the numbers right, there again, still,
Yeah.
But yeah,
I appreciate him going that deep.
I appreciate him speaking to another pro applicator, because that's what I think a lot of people in this industry are missing.
That's what a lot of people are missing in this industry.
Is
Like everybody can go out and be like, I can apprentice here, I can do this, I can work for no offense, Brent, but I can go work for Weedman for 6 months to a year. I can quit, then I can go challenge, I can actually get a test.
Brother, Weedman makes me a lot of money. Weedman makes me a lot. Also,
no, so Brent was one of the he used to be with Weedman.
I know.
Beep.
And he
Beep.
bought his
Beep.
own.
Beep. Beep.
Brent, just go ahead and say it. Just go ahead and say it.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, I have my own business. Yeah, go ahead.
No, so here's the thing that I've had since like you and me have actually been doing this the past 2 months now.
Yeah.
You and Matt that I know, y'all grew up in commercial tank mix, pull a hose, spray. I grew up with my uncle being the extension agent for I know at least 17 counties. Minimalistically.
Yeah.
I had to once I got into this, I had to have my certification, I had to have this, I had to have that, I had to have knowledge. I didn't have to be just a guy in a truck and go, okay, well I have to cover 600,000 square feet a day to make my quota.
Right.
Which is weird, but not weird in my eyes, because I was like, well, whatever I do is whatever I do. But you, me, and Matt that day, like that opened my eyes a lot from the commercial side. Even with Tucker too, like the commercial side, that opened a lot of windows up to me that I didn't realize. Oh, that's what you demand. Like, why the fuck would I do this shit?
Right. Right. Well, so
why can't I just do it my way?
Yeah, and so one of the things that when you do in commercial landscaping is you have that pre-mix, right? It's mixed for that. Everyone gets a shot of dimension. Everybody gets a shot by Benson. Everybody gets a shot of.
Everybody gets a shot of the minimalistic. We're not gonna fuck your shit up. But if we have to come back out, we're not gonna fuck your shit up. But we're not gonna fix your fucking problem.
Yeah, and so
to an extent, yes, but to an extent, no. Right?
Where my philosophy parted ways, and I think what John was getting at is that you can't treat every lawn environment and everything the same way, right? So
no, you can't.
And so you have to have that. Go ahead.
And how many times did while you were at Weedman or your techs at Weedman or whatever, how many times did they recommend drainage solutions versus going out and making their app, stuff like that? Because there's way more to turf and ornamental and treating the stuff than just going out and pulling out the hose and spraying it out. And that's why I'm not near as versed as you guys are, but
you're getting there with me. You're getting there with me on phone calls.
I'm trying to absorb as much as I can from everyone. Hopefully not just you, because the world only needs one BB.
Well, the world only needs one J Bart, but apparently we got 1.5.
Hey man, we do have 1.5. He's about ready to get on steel green here. He should be ready next spring.
God damn, I need an employee.
Yeah, god dang. But I didn't mean to interrupt, Brett. Please.
No, you're fine. No. I was just reiterating what you were saying is that you can't going out with the that tank mix of treating every lawn the same with that is not the best way to go about it. You can add on things, you can take away things. You got to be responsible with that. So knowing those things, those factors to it, makes a difference. Not only in the environment, but in your bottom line too, right? So if you know that you're running a route that does require a 2020 route, you've pulled soil tests and you've done the work, and you get away with an 1803 for that day. I mean, you're saving yourself some money. You're also saving the customer some money. So um, economically, right, knowing your shit is going to make a difference other than just the environment side of it, right? So
Right.
knowing those things is pretty important.
And then callbacks and stuff like that, where when you're making when you're making good full applications and stuff's actually getting treated the first time, you're not
Right.
driving up and down the road unnecessarily. You're not running equipment unnecessarily. You're doing what needs to be done the first time, and it's working great. And that's, I think that's a lot of what this industry is missing, is people who are, I think, and I had said this. Okay. Okay. I think, like, and I hate to say it this way, but like the grass cutting game is a really cutthroat game. I've seen, because anyone can cut grass. Let's get real. I've seen it. You don't need a whole lot of knowledge to know how to cut grass. You need to know how to turn a string trimmer up on its side and walk a straight line. You need to know how to pick a spot in the yard and drive to that, and then turn around and drive back the other way. And you can cut some pretty damn good grass. So I've seen people undercut people by $10, $15 on the same property. I've been undercut $30 on properties.
Sure.
This business, the fertilization, weed control, and just turf and ornamental management business, I consider it a brotherhood. And I think that we need to share knowledge. And I think most of the guys who are serious about it think it the same way, that, hey, let's share information, let's share knowledge, let's make this better. What are you running in your app this time of year? What are you running in your app this time of year? Oh, why are you running that? Who are you sourcing this from? How can I get in touch with this? Who's your source? Who's your contact? Can I speak with them? Let's all meet up, eat supper together since you're in the area. Hey, just the guy who we were speaking about before, about the potassium, I owe him a steak dinner. I told him I'd take him out, I'd give him a steak, and we're going to talk the industry.
Yeah.
And that's what this is about.
Right.
If everyone gets on the same page, because I've had people come up to me, they're like, hey, the green industry needs to unionize. I'm like, no, the green industry just needs to all be on the same page.
Sure.
As far as, because we're all spending the same thing on chemicals. When it comes down to it, like, as soon as everyone finds a source where when I find AMS for $15 a bag, I'm telling everyone.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everyone needs to know about my AMS source for $15 a bag, because this guy needs to stay in business. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So I'm telling everyone, and then maybe the other people will lower their rates when they realize, hey, this guy's getting selling AMS for $15 a bag. Maybe we should sell AMS for $15.
Sure.
Next thing you know, the price of fertilizer goes down a little bit, and we're all doing okay. If I go out and I think what I'm doing, so it's my plan, and I'm the only one who's running this plan, and I'm the only one who can do it this way and do it this good.
Yeah.
So it's exceptionally narcissistic.
Sure.
It's exceptionally wrong.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of grass to go around. There's plenty of trees and shrubs to go around.
Sure. Yep.
I can't treat them all. I'm not in competition with anyone but myself. So why can't I make this industry, the North Charlotte area, a better place, talk to people, and,
Yeah.
and get more people on the same page? Like, hey, maybe SOP is not the best thing to be running. You
Sure.
can run it if it's working for you, but I'm just saying there's probably a cheaper route. And if we can get that squared away, then maybe we can spend more time on other stuff, you know? If we can,
Sure. Yeah.
you know, like, is there, how many applications are you running a year? Well, some of my customers are, some of my customers are catching 11 applications a year. Some of my customers are getting 5.
Sure.
It depends.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
Right.
it's not. But the thing is, when people ask me, I say, "Here's my spreadsheet that I run." Like, I'll sit down with you, I will show you my spreadsheet, and I've had some other couple of people, just from our Discord, call me up and we've talked about it. And I was like, "Dude, if you want to share a screen, I can show you my spreadsheet." And it
You
shows
and me have
me,
talked about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
let me show you how I'm pricing stuff. You can show me where I can increase, where I should decrease, stuff like
Sure.
that, and get more competitive. And because it's not a competition with people in this industry, it's not.
So speaking of Discord, speaking of the pricing like that, I told Tifway, neither one of y'all were at GIE, aka Waterboy. Tifway won't.
Okay.
I told him instead of his price sheet that he has, and he had one based off of yours, Brent, of the Weed Man, which was very, very, very similar. I told him to take his price sheet, compare it to a $12 per thousand, 13, 14, 15, 16, all the way up to 17, and then do a 20 just to see max rate. But focus on that 17 to 12 rate per thousand. And then compare versus your Weed Man, like your classes that you have, the profit margin you need to make this year. And he called me back about a day later and he's like, "Hey, I don't want to admit you're right, but you were right with that 15 to 17 range.
Well,
Like,
how many
everything equals out in
how
that,
many
like
how many times have I told you that? You know, like I've told you about breaking down fuel costs.
Right.
No, I'm not even
spreadsheets and
figuring
stuff
fuel
like
costs.
that.
Like I'm telling him straight spraying because that's all
Oh,
he does
yeah.
is spray.
And those of you
And
guys out there,
I told him go 12 to 15, figure your baseline per thousand, compare that to the rates that you have now, compare and contrast, and see what works best for you.
and those of you guys out there in YouTube world and all that stuff who don't understand what we're talking about when you're saying 10, 12, we're talking about cost per 1,000 square foot for us to make an application.
Cost per M.
Before we add on labor, truck fees, stuff like that. So we're talking strictly material cost. So what that means is like I take all the chemicals I'm going to use in 1 year, put their rates down, cut the cost of the bottle down to what it costs me to put out 1,000 square foot of this, add it up in total, and typically you're going to sit, if you're a successful business, you typically sit somewhere between in this area, $14 to $19 range. If you can be successful with less. If you're a larger company like Weedman, True Green, stuff like that, they're able to do it for about $8 because they're buying tankers and tractor trailer loads of material at a time, so they're cheaper. But how much of that is actually going out onto the turf in an appropriate way? And this is where you get what you pay for and stuff like that. So when we're talking price per thousand or cost per thousand, that's our cost. So if you got 1,000 square foot, I have my roll-up charge, what it's going to cost me just to arrive at your house and drop that gate or crank up that sprayer and for me to walk across the yard. So when we're talking $12, $15 per thousand, you're not paying that. I'm sorry. And that's really not what it's costing us. It's costing us substantially more than that for us to treat your yard and for us to make money. So it's, by the end of it, like $19 a 1,000 square foot is about my break-even price. I'm in business, so I like to make money to where I can pay myself, and then I am also in business to own a business, so I like to make money for my business. So I try to make money for both. So, of course, that I don't go treat your yard for.
Have you ever taken yourself out of the equation and used yourself as an employee at minimalistic rates?
That's
because that's how I have myself figured.
I pay myself in beer.
Well, that's why I'm drinking Keystone. So yeah,
I think this was a sector day.
So
Chuck,
hey, like he's a day and a bottle of regret and an occasional couple jugs of moonshine, and I'm all right. I'm like a night at a bad strip club.
So Chuck Bensing has the question. He goes, "What skill trade requires less training / experience? Painter, plumber, etc." Asking for a friend. We've got to bet on this answer.
Power lineman.
What skill trade requires less training? You say power lineman?
Power lineman.
I'm going to say, motherfucker, you stick in a plant as an operator.
Huh?
Somebody you stick in a plant as an operator that goes to technician in 2 months.
No, maybe I'm misunderstanding his question.
Yeah, he's saying
what skilled trade requires less training experience? A skilled trade.
A tradie, like a plumber, electrician.
A blue collar, like us.
A power lineman requires the less skill and training, the least amount of skill and training.
I know it's considered one of the most dangerous.
That's a wait. That's a good one. A journeyman construction worker. I was going to go actually an apprentice electrician or a journeyman electrician.
Speaking from experience, a journeyman power lineman requires the least amount of
a
training.
Class C. All you gotta do is just show up, wear your fucking uniform, and have a stop sign.
I'm Class A, so.
No, you're Class C. You just sit there and flip the sign, stop.
I'm a Class A, and this is what I do. That's all a power lineman does. I'm not even bullshitting. So I do this business on the side. I actually work for a power company as well, much like Lushy, because we both know you got to get that tradie money from the government, right?
You got to get those benefits. That's why the wife works for the hospital.
Yeah, got to catch those benefits where you can sit in the truck and do nothing but read all day, and then maybe get out and work a power outage every now and again.
Gentlemen, we're about an hour and a half now. So if you had any other last questions or comments, now
anyone in the chat got any other questions?
Chuck Benzie says, "Son, I want a can of raviolis. Thanks."
Well, there you go.
What do you win?
We can help.
Well, what did he say? Electrician?
I don't know.
He just won a can of ravioli. Congratulations, Chuck.
That's a hell of a win, I guess.
What was it, Chef Boy RD? I have questions.
Oh yeah, is it name brand?
Is it name brand? Is it Audi? Is it store brand like Follow?
There's a big difference in a can of ravioli. Let's get real.
Fuck you. Oh, we got to dive deep now.
And how are we heating this up? Is it going to be on the exhaust manifold of a truck, or are we don't actually dump? Is it going to be cold still in the can, or is it
Oh
like
no, we
getting
go
out into a
we
bowl
go
in the
straight up
microwave?
fucking
What is
cigarette.
going on here? Hold on real quick. I need another beer.
Here
We
goes a
go
rabbit
straight up
hole.
fucking cigarette lighter.
All right. So we'll end it there. Jay Bart, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. Thanks for doing this last
Man,
last minute with
I
us.
appreciate you guys having me on. I've enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah,
If anyone
no,
wants to
fun.
reach out, y'all got my name, Jay Bartley. Jay
Don't lose
Bartley
this show.
W on Discord and stuff like that. And track me down. You can ask me questions. I probably don't have the best advice, but I will say something. Sometimes it's just fuck, I don't know. Or let me drink on it.
No,
but
we
that's-
certainly want to have you back on again sometime too as well.
Hey man, I appreciate it, man. I've really enjoyed it, and thank you again.
Thanks.
Enjoy it
Mike, Izzy, it was a pleasure. Thanks.
always.
And we'll be seeing you everyone next time. Thanks everyone for joining us and tuning in tonight. Have a
We
great
are
night.
out.
Take care.